Hey guys, what's poppin'? It's Anna. I'm back with week 3 recap. So I was gonna do the same thing as I did last time, but this week is just very hectic compared to last week's. Partly my fault, but I'm not trying to spread the blame, but I'll get into it. But yeah, so week 3 is definitely an interesting week. I'm gonna show standings last because of reasons, and so I'm not gonna be showing any replays this week. That's partly because I wouldn't say the replays were bad, but like I got 5-0'd. I feel like set up Zygarde with rest. I feel like that's just, I mean, it's kind of predictable it's gonna win. Just things like that, and partly because I messed up with the replays and submitting them. So for example, Alola Marowak, which as you can see is still the kill leader with 11 kills, should really have 9. Latias should really have, I think, 5 or something. Same with, I believe, Mega Beedrill should have, I think, 3. Kartana and Teleon should have somewhere around 3. But I kind of messed up with the replays and accidentally submitted one of last week's replays. So that's partly my fault. But I mean, I'm kind of trying to act like everything here. I'm trying to act like, not like I own the place, but I have, some people in the league don't submit their replays, so I have to go in, submit the replays, make sure it's the right replay, and submit it. And I just miscounted or something and accidentally submitted that. So that's unfortunate. There was a forfeit this week, so that's also cool. A 3-0 win for someone. But yeah, I guess let's move into the kill leaders. Man, this season is so weird. So Alolan Marowak, 11 kills, should have 9, but we're not going to talk about that. So Alolan Marowak is a really, really solid mon. It being tier 3 and having the ability to Dynamax, much like Sharpedo, is really OP because paired with a Thick Club or, for my Sharpedo, a Life Orb, they're just going to be doing sheer amount of damage, especially in Trick Room. If this thing gets in Trick Room, you might as well forfeit. Because it's going to pick up some kills, especially because this thing gets things like Boomerang and Earthquake, so you can get Spadef boosts on top of that, so you can run max HP, max defense, let's say Adamant, 4 attack, Thick Club, and then just start picking up some kills, and you won't be tough to damage, I guess. I don't know, that's just an idea, just a paintball. Latias, 7 kills, should have 5. I don't know at this point. Latias, even if it did have 5 kills, I can understand why. It's a really, really underrated offensive threat. It has 110 base special attack, 130 Spadef, which isn't Latios. It's not Latios. It doesn't have that 130 special attack, and it doesn't have that 90 attack. But you can still do things like stored power sets. You can still run specs. I don't know. I don't think we banned Soldu, so Soldu can go off. You definitely have ways to get some kills with Latias. Zygarde, I mean, it pretty much swept my team. So it picked up, I think, 5 kills. 5 out of 6 kills. Yeah, I mean, it's very understandable as to why Zygarde is where it is. It's really good. I mean, I personally think it shouldn't have been allowed. I think it's too OP for draft, but that's just my opinion. Maybe things change with this new generation. I don't think anything did though, but who knows? Maybe with the release of the Reggies, the Reggie Draco and Regieleki or something, and maybe, but I don't know. I think Zygarde's gonna own this league even further. Next we have Celesteela. So Celesteela, I don't think I pulled any strings in quotations. I think this mon is just genuinely a good mon. I think it's a really, really good defensive wall. it has like hundreds in every stat pretty much except speed, so it can kind of go off there. I think it gets Tailwind, Heavy Slam, Leech Seed, Sub, Toxic. Like, I mean, this mon is really good at stalling. It's really good at being a defensive wall. It can have a lot of roles, and you just don't expect, let's say, a banded set coming. So yeah, I can definitely see how it pick up 6 skills. Same with Melmetal. I'm just gonna go over this one light. Burning Reshrooms, they have Trick Room support with this mon, so it's not only is it hitting hard, but sometimes or most of the times it's going to be going first. Meloetta. I genuinely don't know how this mon is still in the top 10, let alone 6th. Why did I say that weird? 6th place. I guess people just don't expect this mon coming. I don't know if it's a Dynamax captain or something, but yeah, insane. Mega Beedrill, much like Latias, I mean, this is with quotations. It would not be in the top 10, but yeah, it's definitely gonna fall out because Mega Beedrill is a very flawed mon. It's very weak. It has already a rocks weakness. You can't pair it with heavy duty boots. You pretty much, if rocks get up, you really only have 4 opportunities if you don't defog, and that's not including any other damage you accumulated before rocks went up. So it's very hard to get Mega Beedrill in, and then if it gets a Fill Stinger, I mean, the mon just wins then. But if it can't get that, it's very, very flawed. U-turning is very good for it. Personally, I like that playstyle, so I can definitely see why it would, or it could be in the top 10, but I don't think it's gonna stay in the top 10. Much like Noivern. I think Noivern went off last game for LA, but Noivern is you don't. I wouldn't say Specs is uncommon or Life Orb is uncommon for it, but you really, Noivern prefers to be a pivot. It prefers to be a pivot where it can see items, get U-turn damage, possibly Air Slash, possibly Roost, possibly Defog, send some Dracos in for some damage on walls or on offensive mons. But yeah, I don't think a spec set is gonna keep the longevity, because it's offensive, but it's not. It's a predictable offensive mon where you can just run a wall and it will be a wall, or you can just revenge with Ice Shard, or just, yeah. I mean, it's a very flawed mon. Well, not flawed, but you get what I'm saying. Gmax Inteleon, well, Dynamax Inteleon. Inteleon, very, very good Dynamax, I think. Gets Airstream. You can set up Focus Energy with Sniper, so you're doing 2 times damage. It's insane. I've had to verse it twice now in the past, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and each time it's picked up at least 1 or 2 kills in each game. It does a bunch of damage, and if you don't prep for it, it can sweep. These next 2 are also in quotations, but we'll move on to Kartana eventually. But Inteleon, I actually do think it can stay in this top 20 range, because it is a very good D-Max. If you have a good D-Max, you can win the league. I mean, if you can't beat the D-Max, you just will constantly go off on your opponent. So yeah, I think this mon can definitely do something special. And we move on to Kartana, my favorite Draft League mon of all time, that I actually used in MLD Season 1. I should really put MLD Season 2 Week 3, but whatever. Kartana is a lot of fun if you're into using Kartana. It's really good late game. It's probably, in my opinion, the best late game mon, because it will just go in. If everything's weakened enough and your opponent sends out the wrong, or has, if your opponent sends in the right Pokemon for the first turn and you can pick up that kill, you can just start going and going and going. And that's not even, we don't even have Grassy Glide Kartana yet. When that comes, oh my god, this mon is going to be so good with the Rillaboom. It's going to be so good with Bulu. I can't wait. I honestly cannot wait. But yeah, Kartana is just really good at revenge killing. That's why it has around 5 kills. I don't think it has 5 kills, but maybe it does. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just being stupid. But yeah, very, very. The kill leaders are a little shocking, but I mean, you have some average things you would usually see in kill leaders, like Zygarde, like Melmetal, like Kartana, like possibly Celesteela, like Latias, but then you have things like Alolan Marowak, Meloetta, Mega Beedrill, Noivern, Inteleon, things you wouldn't really expect. So yeah, I'm interested in week 4. We have a lot of good matchups. I versus Dallas. I gotta say, I have probably the worst schedule. I versed all the top teams except for, I think, one team. Every other team I versed is, I think, in the playoffs. So yeah, I'm very intrigued. Dallas has both Mega Beedrill and Latias, so it's going to be a very interesting match. What other matches? We have Pulse Diancies versus Toronto. We have who else? Who else is what else? Those 2 matchups are really going to be interesting though. Burning Mushrooms versus San Jose. Okay, let's move on to standings, and then I'll talk about next week's matchups, because that, I think that's way interesting for me. So as you can see for standings, Toronto Tedpigs are just killing it this league. 3-0 plus 16, 2 6-0s back to back on a 4-0. I mean, you're relatively set. If you can get to plus 30s, you're pretty much set for the season, and you can just start playing matchups for wins instead of differential, because right now I feel like you need differential. You need wins and differential, but later down the season, it's going to be more of picking up differentials. So yeah, the fact they're doing both is great. Dallas Stormies are tied for second with Alaska Nabzols and the Pulse Diancies. These 3 teams, I've got to say, are very good. Dallas Stormies, though, that team is, if you remember my power rankings, I'm pretty sure they were one of my bottom teams. This team is Alolan Persian, I think it's Persian, Terrakion, Mega Beedrill, Alomomola, Landorus, Registeel, Miltank, Charizard, Rotom Mo, Latias, Sylveon. I'm pretty sure this was one of my bottom teams, because this team doesn't really have that offensive power. However, this team is a very defensive stally team, which is definitely a good reason why it's 3-0 plus 9. And it does have some offense with Terrakion, Mega Beedrill. Persian is an amazing pivot for, I believe, tier 4, tier 5. With heavy duty boots, parting shot, knockoff, foul play, toxic. Yeah, just very incredible. Alomomola, one of the best Stallmons. Landorus, regular Landorus. It can U-turn around. I mean, Sandforce definitely doesn't really help this. I think out of all the Pokemon, I think this and Charizard are 2 kind of odd picks. I don't know. I personally think they don't really fit that well with the team. I mean, Landorus can U-turn around. It has pretty good offensive on both sides, but I don't know. I'd rather prefer something else on this team, in my opinion. Registeel I have never used Registeel before, but I really want to, because body press is going to be insane on it with Iron Defense. It has a really good SPDF and HP. So yeah, it's just a huge wall. Miltank, one of the best tier 4 walls. Thick Fat, Scrappy, and Sap Sipper are 3 very good abilities for this mon. Charizard Solar Power can really decimate opposing Sun teams. And it's just a really good breaker. Only problem is definitely those rocks. Heavy Duty Boots is going to have to be run constantly because you don't have any Sun setters, I think. So that's definitely an issue. Rotom Mo, Volt Switches, it can be really good defensively, and it can be ran offensively as a pivot. Or Specs, Leftovers, AV, all of those sets work. Latias, I talked about Latias before, very good tank, but it's also really good offensively with stored power, Calm Mind. Specs, Soldew, very good. Sylveon, good support, but it's also really good offensively. Yeah, I don't know. That's about it for me. I don't want to reveal too much, I guess. Charizard picked up 4 kills though. Neat. I'm just noticing that. Rotom Mo picked up 5. Yeah, this team definitely has some offensive power. So Alaskan Absols are also their number 3. Yeah, this team is good. This team is good. Rotom Fan Hatrini, which is their D-Max. You have Mega Garchomp, Celesteela, Hippowdon, Weavile, Quagsire, Scizor, Chansey, Blaziken, and Galvantula. This team has web support. This team has very good tanks, and it also has very good offensive power. Hippowdon and Mega Garchomp are going to be really insane together, in my opinion. This team is scary. I can definitely see why it's 3-0 plus 9. Pulse Nancy's, I just went up against them. They have Coco, Mega Slowbro, Zygarde, Skarmory, Drapion. They just have a lot of offensive power. Alolan Raichu. They have good synergy. Very threatening team overall. Alolan Raichu and Tapu Koko by themselves can sweep teams with like it's insane. Vancouver Wishcaches are 2-1 plus 5. I'll go over both teams. Vancouver Wishcaches and Sacramento Samurott. So I've versed the Sacramento Samurott, so I'll cover them first. Their team is very good offensively. They have so much superpower that it's going to be very hard to break them. First 2 games 2-0, both plus 2. Of course, that's how math works. And their last game they actually lost 0-3. I'm pretty sure to one of the 3-0 teams. So yeah, they're definitely going to be a well-versed team in the future, and definitely are looking for a playoff spot. Vancouver Wishcaches, I'm pretty sure this is another one of the bottom teams that I ranked. This team has Mega Aerodactyl, Hoopa Unbound, Bisharp, Mimikyu. This team has some good offense. Heatran, Conkeldurr, Thundurus. If I had to say there was a problem with this team, it would probably be defensively. I don't really see too many defensive walls besides some like Claydol and Gastrodon. Like Gastrodon's gonna have to be run every week, in my opinion. Dragalge's a good defensive tank, but you could use that offensively with that adaptability, so that could cause issues. Whimsicott's a good like pivot option. It's not really a good tank. Heatran's a good tank if you let it be a tank, but I'd rather have Heatran running max HP, max special attack, and just dealing some lava plumes and stuff out. Yeah, that's about it. They're just lacking some tanks. Warsaw Wooloos, and oh shoot, I didn't update that. Or did I? Did I update that? No, I didn't. I don't know why they're only 1-1, but they should be, I believe 2-1. Right? I think so. I'm not sure, but I'll quickly cover them, I guess. So that means I could be in playoffs. So Warsaw. Oh, this is the Vish Volcarona. Okay. So this team has offense, but I wouldn't say it has the best synergy because you have things like Rillaboom and Excadrill conflicting. Morpeko's good offensively, but I mean, I wouldn't really want Morpeko to be. I wouldn't want to rely on Morpeko. Surfetch is a really good breaker. I'll give you that. Rillaboom as well. It can stop tanks in their tracks with Taunt. It gels pretty terribly with Volcarona, which is a huge issue. Or not Volcarona, Excadrill, which is a huge issue because you can't just U-turn Rillaboom into Excadrill. Togekiss, we know what it does. Volcarona, we know what it does. Vish can be ran AV. It can be ran Scarf. Just clicking Vicious Rend a bunch of times. Yeah, I mean, this team, a lot like the other team, doesn't really have too many notable tanks. This team actually has Latios as well. Like Mega Audino, I think is their best tank, but to me that's really their only tank. which is definitely going to be some cause for concern, because something like Cartana can just completely decimate this team, and if in the late game, if you can weaken everything down to at least like I'd say 70-80%, even something like a Volcarona is not going to appreciate knockoffs. Like, this team kind of gets wrecked by a knockoff Bandit user or Scarfer. And the speed tiers, yeah, I mean, there's just I can keep poking holes at this team, I feel like. But I mean, it's not like I think they're the worst team though. But there's just a lot of holes, and yeah, any good team has a lot of holes. So we have the Burning Restaurants, Boston Snobs, which is me, LA King Bastions, which is the owner, Scottish Superiors, San Jose Ninjas, and the Seattle Sylveons. So I don't think necessarily most of these teams are not the worst team in the league. I wouldn't think. I'd think some of these teams could make a run for the playoffs. I say like 4 of these teams have a shot at making playoffs, and that's insane. That's just insane. But I think the main issue with, I don't even think there's most issues with any of these teams. I think it's just schedule. For example, like I said, I've only versed one team that hasn't been in the playoffs, and the next 2 teams I verse are the top teams. Like, I definitely have a very tough schedule. Well, let's look at these other teams. So Burning Restaurants, I think they're very solid. I think it was definitely schedule. They versed Seattle, which I think might have been a win. Was it a win? I think it was, right? Yeah, I'm pretty positive that was a win. Yeah. So they lost to Scottish Superiors, which are also 1 and 2. But I think they're one of the better teams. They beat Seattle Sylveons pretty decisively, but then they lost to Alaska Napsols. Like, I think every one of these 1 and 2 teams have fought like a couple, I wouldn't say easier matchups, but at least like better matchups than these 3-0 teams. But all of these teams have run into one of the 3-0s, and that's really what's separating these teams. But these last 3 teams, DC Drapions and Shed Ninjas, Shed Ninjas got a +3 forfeit win, and DC got the opposite. So I definitely do think DC, out of these 03 teams, is definitely the best team. But I think the 2 at the bottom are definitely the worst teams in the league. I mean, no disrespect, but there are so many holes with these teams. London Ludicolo, I've said this before, Edgequick is very spammable, and that's definitely a huge problem for anything like an Excadrill or anything like even Gigalith and Hippowdon and Tyranitar. A lot of ground types just love this matchup. You saw Palosand. Palosand went off on this team. It did great work because it can just easily spam Earth Power and just pick up some kills or Scorching Sands or whatever. And then Snown and Snovers. Snown and Snovers, I think, have a really good team. I don't think they have the worst team. I think, like, who did they verse? They versed Warsaw, but then they versed Toronto and Pulse. Like, I can't really blame the 2 last losses. Like, that's like Dragapult, Ferrothorn, Vaporeon, Entei, Orbeeto, Nidoqueen, Uniclus, Pelipper, Swampert, Mega Swampert, Mandibuzz. These are all really good mons paired well with each other. I skipped Togetic, but I mean, it's Togetic. These are all very, very well mons. I think it's just a matter of schedule, having to verse the top 2 teams in the league. And then after that, you verse Burning Restaurants, which I think has a very good matchup against this team. And yeah, I think at these next 4 weeks, I think we might be able to see a turnaround. I mean, 0-3 minus 14 is definitely a hole, but I'll keep saying this until I die or we get somewhere in this league. We have a long season ahead of us, so I could definitely see a turnaround, especially this early on in the season. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me. I don't have any replays to show. I guess I can just go over some of the notable matchups next week. I already said Pulse Antes versus Toronto Tepics. Those are literally the top two teams because they're tied for second. And then we have me versus Dallas Armies. And I'm not trying to be humble. I'm not trying to be overzealous. I'm not trying to whatever. But I definitely do think I'm one of the top teams in this league. And I just started off badly. I just had bad matchups. I think I could definitely win this game. This is the top team versus the top team out of the playoffs, I guess. So yeah, I think that can be a really interesting match. What else? We have Sacramento versus Scottish Superiors. I've said Scottish Superiors. I think they are one of the better teams in this league. Just unfortunate matchups. We have... What else? We have the LA King Bastions versus Seattle Sylveons. These are two of the quote-unquote bottom teams. I think that's going to be interesting. We're going to see which team can sort of pull away from the bottom spots, I guess. That could be really cool. Yeah, but aside from that, it's not that these matchups aren't uninteresting, but they aren't as good as those four I mentioned. Those are definitely going to be four very interesting matches. We also have, I completely missed it, Vancouver Whiscaches versus the Alaskan Absols. That's going to be another good match. We could either see a 3-0 get shattered or the streak keeps going. One of these 3-0s is going to go bye-bye because we have Tepics versus Diances. Ignore the crackle. But yeah, so this is definitely going to be a very interesting week compared to the last week. Last week we was really just trying to set things up for this week, kind of to see which teams would be the better teams. This week is where we're going to see kind of a divide and where we're going to see which teams fall and which teams rise, which teams stay in the playoffs, etc. All that fun stuff. But yeah, that's going to be it from this week. That's going to be it for this recap. We're getting it shorter by shorter each time. Hopefully we can cut it down to like 20 minutes next time. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for next week. We'll see what happens. That's gonna be it for me. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. Peace out, boys.